Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of the Deals. I'm Brother Kenneth, and in this episode we're going to talk about the controversial yoga. Now this is where I lose some people here too, especially the women, and that is you can't really practice, tolerate, participate stuff in your own home or with others. Let's say you're a kid when you go to a slumber party, and the girls are practicing witchcraft. Even if they're doing it in a corner, you're still there. Did you mention any objections to it? Did you say anything at all out of the fear of popularity is going to be at stake if you don't go along with the popular girl practice of the dark arts, so to speak? Well, you're complicit still when you say nothing, when you're right there. Such as if you're at a party and you see that someone is getting attacked and you do nothing. Well, you're complicit some way because you're just like sort of like the security for that act. In other words, you're not doing anything, so what good are you? You're not turning them in. You're not saying knock it off. Okay, and this complicity is something that complicates things a little bit, and you can get into that mess by being married to someone who's abusive to one of the children and saying nothing. You are complicit, and that's why the getaway car driver gets in trouble for the bank robbery, just because he took some friends somewhere. I'm sure that argument's been used, and he didn't know he was robbing a bank. You can still be complicit. Okay, now let's go to what the yoga thing is. First off, the chants and all of those are chants that are actually chanting these kind of oneness things, like you're the God, and it's not a meditation. Or remember, transcendental meditation comes from the same thing, where you go in this thing and you hold your finger up, and your fingers that you get into this kind of triangular shape with your arms down there at the side. And they always show these on these tampon commercials and stuff. Women are always doing yoga on a beach or whatever, or sitting like that. So it's sort of like a stereotype, it's like, now you're feeling fresh or more free, and you can practice yoga now without any embarrassing problems. Who knows? Okay, but let me start off that the Hindu spirits are gods and goddesses, as they call themselves, and as the Hindus consider them. But gods and goddesses, as we know in Demonology 101, are nothing but fallen angels. You remember the first things that were coming out of this thing? Satan wanted to be like unto God. So how can you be like unto God but declare yourself a god and demand that you be worshipped, that things are sacrificed before you and things are done to appease you? That makes sense when it fulfills what their desire was. They wanted to have us humans because there was far superior than humans. We're just fleshies that die and get pricked and hurt and all that stuff, And they wanted to be worshipped and just like God was, to some degree. But God doesn't have it that way. We don't worship the angels. We're not even supposed to kneel before the angels. That's just out of respect. So let me tell you something else about the Hindu spirits, and this will come up on some other things too. And that is that if you listen to The Exorcist, and if you've been in the work for a while, you'll know that the top three things that are hardest to get out is Satanism, voodoo, and Hindu spirits. Those are the top three to get out. Well, you might add some others along the way, but we're talking about the ones that are the hardest. Now, the ones that are more common, that's a different thing in itself, because even Gabriel Amorth, the late Vatican exorcist, who he said that the Italian witchcraft that goes on in the community of the Italians, the evil eye and so forth, that they put spells on each other for the littlest and dumbest reasons. So he gets a lot of those compared to some of the others. But the most difficult has been the Hindu, the voodoo, and satanic ones, Satanist. Those are the specific ones he said. And because of his history and his age, it's easy for him to spew out a statistic. If you dealt with 100 or 1,000 people, tell us what the statistic of 1,000 people, how many were of the top three religions that were the most difficult to get that demon out of that religion or that spirit. Okay, now moving on to this, the other thing is just like, okay, you're going to read some priests and other people in Catholic, this is, Catholics or Christians or anybody, but I'm saying, why can't Catholics be doing yoga? Well, some say, well, I'm just doing it for the exercises. Well, let's go back to the party again. You're doing this because you want to get, healthy or whatever. You got your reasons. You're a little girl at a party, and they start doing witchcraft in the corner. You're there for other reasons, too. You're there to talk about boys. You're hoping that maybe a couple of boys will come over and talk to you through the window at the later tonight. You want to be with the popular girls so that you can become in that social circle and get into their clique. You got all your own reasons there, but it's all superficial, isn't it? Okay, so when you make excuses like this, you have to understand that a complicity. Now, stretching, you can do that in ballet. Take ballet class. You want to learn how to stretch. There's a chiropractic exercises that tells you how you can, do certain movements and all that to sort of help straighten your spine out and, to keep you healthy that way. But why do you go to religion to learn how to stretch when all these other sources are there without the built-in? Well, it's just their spin on it. If I go in there without the intent, intention doesn't matter. Because no matter what, how many times people get in trouble with the law and their intention wasn't this or that? How about the guy who just wanted to rob the bank and he ends up killing a security guard? I mean, you're talking, oh, that's extremes. No, we're still talking about the same things, even though one may seem the extreme. Don't make excuses. Don't say that wasn't your intention, but you did it anyway. You'll get sucked into this stuff one way or another. You'll join yoga groups, and then they'll have a yoga leader who's got a beard, and he looks like a swami and stuff like that. You'll make excuses for it. I'm just there for the exercises and stretching techniques. It doesn't work that way. Okay, now let's go to the so-called stretching techniques. If you see on the chart here, each one of those techniques are actually changes to positions that honor, venerate, and particularly worship. We're using the other two words to be a little light. The gods and goddesses of the Hindu faith. If you notice the one in there, that the one that I hear most often about is the Kundalini. It's a snake. It's a serpent. We're going to do another video, like I said, on a Kundalini spirit alone, and it's not for this one. We keep these down to 5 to 15 minutes. All these are posing to the positions, and it doesn't matter if you're just, I'm doing that. Oh no! So if I touch my toes and that happens to be honoring and venerating the god, the elephant god, or something like that. Well, in part, no, you're not using the word yoga even and stuff. Just because you touch your toes, it doesn't work that way. But you can't use that as an excuse to say this is why you're non-complicit and you're ignorant. See, but the thing is, when you hear someone like me tell you can't do this and you do it anyway, you're not, you are definitely complicit because you know better. You've been told. The priest doesn't have to tell you that in confession. Let someone tell you who knows that you're practicing something and you're borderline practicing paganism as it is before you walk into the place and buy your yoga mat or anything like that. You're going straight to how many times do you need a yoga mat to do ballet? You just need this bar so you don't lose your balance and you can do your stretching. Get ballet exercises if you want to do that, or go back to that aerobic stuff they used to do in the 80s. But don't sit there and join and participate with pagan rituals, and that's what it is, because ritual is when you don't have to add chemicals. It's when you participate in physical action, not just words, because prayers can accompany it. And the words, each one of the words, actually all centers around yourself. You're the god, you're the goddess. And that's what the Eastern philosophy is. It's New Age. And it goes across to Buddhism. Shirley MacLaine was big on that, Oprah Winfrey. And it doesn't matter what celebrity is for it or not, but we don't prop ourselves up as God. We humble ourselves before the God. Okay, so we know from Gable and Mort that people become possessed at some point or another. Don't start on any opening doorway saying, I'm just going to dip my toe in the water and do the stretching exercise. I'm not honoring, venerating any gods purposely. Well, after we tell you and you are. So you better quit yoga as soon as you hear this kind of thing. I don't care if it's for the popular reasons, whatever the young girls have for going to the slumber parties. You're doing the same thing, going with all your girlfriends. There's probably someone in the group you want to be like. And I'm saying that because I don't really know any guys that go to yoga, and guys got their things and girls do. So I'll pick on you another time, guys. But more, this is a thing for women. Now, men will get into the Kundalini spirit to be magicians. They wait for this thing to coil around their spine at 3 a.m. so they can get the third eye power when it eventually comes to the head, going up to chakra points little by little. A story another time told. Okay, so we know there's a lot of weaving of this religion, and it's not monotheistic. This is why it's ridiculous when people say, all religions are equal in the eyes of God, or all religions lead to God. It's not true. That's not a monotheistic religion. You know how many gods and goddesses are in Hinduism? And you know what the difference is between, Jews and Christians, and it's not anywhere near what the difference between pagans with several gods and Jewish or Christian. And that's the other thing, is don't take that lightly. This is what happened to Solomon when he got his butt kicked twice. He got it kicked beforehand when some barbarians or whatever rolled in, and the second time he was already dead, but his kingdom paid again for it. The young Pharaoh came in 5 years after his death, and they crushed purposely everything. The archaeologist says they apparently crushed and destroyed everything on purpose, literally destroyed. Made sure all the pots were crushed so there was hardly anything they could get out of it. There's a little crumb here and there out of the pots, because in a lot of archaeological digs, they can find whole sections of it, and then they eventually assemble them and they glue them together and they put them in a museum. But the kingdom of David, what it used to be, for allowing this paganism to go so far as to get into the temple of the Ark of the Covenant, which wasn't built by demons, morons. I'm talking to the specific people who believe in this idea that the Ring of Power ordered demons to build this thing. No, it didn't. Wouldn't be impressed anyway if it took them 40 years. But who would want the monkey hands all over your building that's for the God of gods, the ones who created these monkeys to begin with? If anything, he was going to have it do angels, but men made that building. That's why Solomon was the one who was going to be entrusted to build the temple when David fell. Don't forget that. Okay, so I love preaching to this kind of stuff because, you know what, it really gets on my nerves big time. And it's sometimes time for even Franciscans to turn the table on the money keepers in the temple. And this is our way of doing it. Different classes of people will get involved with the yoga for whatever reason, and it doesn't matter. See, okay, you have a church in your area and it gets it, you need to go in there and tell them you can't do this, and share this video, because I want to make sure that by the time I'm done with this video, and we're halfway through it, you're watching it completely now, that it should have just enough information. Do I need to go to the Bible? Do I need to quote what happened to Solomon by mixing two things together? And I tell you, the exorcists know how evil that Hindu is. Okay, they're smart people, and they got all their positive attributes. What pagan society did not? And then they turn around and they sacrifice their children in some of these, at the end of the year or once a month or whatever during Wenzel Solace. It didn't matter. The nature of the beast is there. And we can't forget the origins either. Let's not forget the origins. We don't forget the origins of the KKK. If they act like they're all friendly to people of color and Catholics, they were brutal to Catholics too, by the way. And do we trust them? We can't, because of the origins. What you would do, you'd shut it down, you'd rename it. But you get involved with any kind of organization that used to be pro-slavery or pro-Nazi, don't expect to have changed any more than this pro-pagan, pro-gods and goddesses. Don't participate in any part of it just because you want to be popular, you want to get in shape, because there's plenty of ways to get in shape. And some of those stretches, like I said, it's in a way, it's because this one goes from this one to that one. The transition is also an important thing, because when it goes from one god to the next, that pattern right there is all preset too. It's in that order for a reason. So you're not just doing one, that mimics and say, hey, that looks a little bit like the Kundalini spirit. Don't stretch like that, even though your chiropractor said to do it and he had nothing. It doesn't work that way. Besides, you're not participating with a bunch of people who might be doing it there as basically following what they've done in another class with their guru or whatever, who's actually promoting Hinduism. It's a Hindu, what do they call them, gurus? Or I can't remember because it's not important to me. They get angry when they hear that Americans and whatever are doing these classes because they know it's supposed to be for a religion, for one reason. But it's another thing is that kind of private thing. Like they gave Bruce Lee a hard time when he was teaching Chinese kung fu in America. Like that's Chinese secret. So a little bit like that. And on the other side, it's kind of like the shamans. They don't like it the way people are running the stage all over the house. They're not shamans, for one. And number two, they're not using it in the right way. They're acting like it's going to get rid of ghosts, demons, and spirits, when their original idea was it's supposed to get rid of negative energy. But see, I'm not promoting that. I'm just telling you what their perspective. So people can't even get it right when they're getting it wrong. So you're going to borrow something from some other culture, religion, and then you're going to bring it in and start Americanizing it. You might have brought in the worst elements. I don't know how much more I can say to beat yoga to the mats, so to speak, but I want you to read up on it. I invite you to do more of it, and the more you read about it, the more you're going to understand. The problem is people don't want to face up. It's like when people smoked in the old days. A lot of them didn't want to hear it causes lung cancer and all this other stuff, so they continued to do it and ignored it. Now, if there's any of them left, the original smoking generation, they're got COPD, they got lung cancer, they're only smoking with one lung because they still can't stop smoking, it seems like. But you are forewarned. And don't think that just because some things are more lethal than others, like playing with a Ouija board is obviously more dangerous than an uninformed person practicing the stretches of yoga. But you got to stay away from all of this stuff. You got to cleanse your life of these kind of things. Don't wear popular jewelry, for example, that actually has Satanism in its origins. Just because they call it a love token or whatever now, they'll rename it. It doesn't matter. That's why we don't pay it. Any person, place, or thing. Look at their origins. Look what made them who they are. Don't sit there and ignore it just because they're popular or anything else, or you love their music. If they're a Satanist and they're singing a favorite song and they're romancing you as a 15-year-old girl, you got to listen to the fact that people are telling you that this guy's a Satanist. Don't listen to the sirens of the sea and let your ship crash at the rocks. Okay, enough said of that. So how much more can I add that hasn't been displayed or said? Not much more, but like and share the video. Definitely, this is a lot of ways that people get trapped into this neo-paganism, and it's not, anything can be fun, and that's the whole power of it, is that the devil relies on the idea that he can peddle good looks, he can peddle good tasting, he can peddle fun, and all that stuff that leads to your undoing. Well, so if he was given poison apples that smelled yucky and tasted yucky and all the whole 9 yards, that he would get anywhere? No, he's got to sugarcoat everything. He's got to make it very appealing. Wouldn't have worked with Adam and Eve. Eve wanted something that the devil offered from the tree of knowledge. And Adam just wanted Eve. That's pretty much the truth of that. But, okay, everybody, God bless you. This is Kenneth Deal, Brother Kenneth Deal, Franciscan, for the Art of the Deal, saying I'll see you soon, and or rather you'll see me. God bless. God bless. God bless. God bless. God bless. God bless.